making our way towards an accident here. Grocery store distribution warehouse. Put it on dock 18 and then bobtail back to our terminal, waiting for everybody else to come to work. So finally, setup gave me 3 container movements and an empty, so a total of 4 movements. We took the empty into the shipping terminal and then hooked up to this full 45-foot container. Full of, it's a paint booth. It's going up to an auto body shop. And it used to be a tow truck company where they towed vehicles. I guess they got bought out. Now it's going to be an auto body shop. Real tight area, but they say they got a spot for us. So I like it when the contact person answers the phone. After that, we got 2 more deliveries out to the Campbell Industrial area. Looks like it's going to be a good day. Freeway's opened up. So we're making our way through Pearl City. Just ahead, the H1 and H2 are going to split. We're going to stay on the H2, which is the 2 right lanes, and take the H2 all the way to the end, and it ends right there in Wahiwa. That's where our delivery's at. think 9th gear is going to be better. Yeah. Making our way to Wahiwa. 3:46. We started at 3:30 today. We didn't do any filming because I don't know, one of those days. Nothing really exciting happened. Just finishing up a load of steel 50-gallon barrels down to the local refinery. Now we're racing back to the yard so we can go. Me and another driver will put 2 containers down to the refinery. So hopefully my truck will be down tomorrow so the mechanics can rebuild the air conditioner. That was the plan last Wednesday and it didn't happen, so. In the meantime, I'm going to get all my tools out of the truck here. There we go. So I got it down to where it only takes 3 trips. I like to carry a lot of tools because you never know what you're going to run into. Those tools aren't mine. But this is bucket full of this is my truck right here. Still not running. The problem is this thing here. No good. It even still has that new truck smell. I gotta tell you, this truck is way more comfortable to drive, but it doesn't work as hard as the truck I'm driving now. It's not as fast, it's not as maneuverable, but boy is it cushy. Cushy, cushy. Get the toolbox. So I bought the toolbox, but all the tools in the toolbox are tools that I have found over the years, and it's completely full. So if they get the air conditioning fixed, fingers crossed, I'll take everything out of this truck and just keep them in the other truck. These are all spare parts. Got a lot of junk. So now we'll take the truck and park it in front of the mechanic shop. And then we'll go tell everybody I can find not to use my truck tomorrow. And then we gotta cross our fingers. Shop should be nice and shaded off by now. Hopefully I can get in there. Maybe. Working tonight. You're working tonight. Oh. Yeah, let's scoot over a little more that way. Another truck can come. A lot of the trucks like to come over here in the afternoons and wash their trucks and do a little maintenance. Huh? No more. One spot in the yard that gets shaded off in the afternoon. There we go. Perfect. So a guy came up to me today, he just saw my videos for the first time, and he was asking me a bunch of questions as to how I ended up with this company and why did I pick this company. And I did shop around. When I moved to Hawaii in 1987, my first job was working as a cashier at the Sears 1 Hour Photo, which my brother was the manager. So he got me the job, but it was, cashier work. It wasn't real interesting to me. So I was looking for a driving job, and I found a driving job driving tour buses, and I did that for 10 years. I drove tour buses all over the island for a company called Trans Hawaiian, which went out of business about 2 or 3 years after I left. Time is 3:54. So I was working as a tour bus driver, and the first Gulf War came along, and the tour industry, it's real up and down, depending on whatever's going on in the world. People go on vacation, and then people get scared and they don't go on vacation. So when the first Gulf War came along, people got scared of that and they didn't want to fly. And next thing you know, nobody's coming to Hawaii. Wow, we drove some miles today. 240. That's 8 and 1. 249. I think that's what I did last time, right? 240. No, this is 1 mile more than I did last time. Holy smokes! No wonder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Same as last time. It was just all long runs, no short runs today. 8 movements, 249 miles. I'm sure I got the math right on that. 8, yeah, 241 plus, no, it's 41 plus 9. That's 250. 250 miles. Never done that before. We'll be out of here by 4 o'clock. So we came in at 3:30. We'll be out of here by 4 o'clock, so that's a 12.5-hour day. We drove 250 miles and we moved 8 containers. And that's like 6 trips out to the camp. How many times we got there? 1, 2. And then we went up to Wahiwa too. 3 for Wahiwa. 4, 5, 7 times out to camp. Too much work. So anyway, I was driving tour buses. The first Gulf War comes along, and right across the street from the tour bus company was a garbage company called BFI, and they were looking for drivers. They were super busy, even though the tourist industry had basically shut down. They lost a couple of drivers. They were looking for roll-off drivers. And so one of the guys I was working with, I'm such a scaredy cat. One of the guys I was working with who didn't have as much seniority as me. I think he'd only been with the tour bus company a year, and I'd been there 8 years at that time. He went over to the garbage company and they hired him. Starting pay, $10 an hour. And at that time, I was making $7.75 an hour driving tour bus. So $10 an hour. He told me they got tons of overtime. Come in at 5, you get off at like after 6. So you work a 12, 13 hour day. And you can work 6 days a week if you want. So he showed me his paycheck. I went across the street and says, I want the same deal he's got. Have you ever driven roll-off before? No, I've never driven a roll-off before. Can you drive a 10-speed? Maybe. So, because I'd never done it before, and they had a great training program, I rode along with the guy for like 3 months. And first he did the driving and I watched him, and then I did the driving and he watched me. And became a roll-off driver. So I worked garbage for 7 years, 2 years as a roll-off driver, and then I moved up to front load and drove front load for 5 years. And because of the hours, we always worked about, you know, a short day was a 10-hour day. And so we always worked long hours, and you could volunteer to work on the weekends and, you know, make even more overtime. But my body was getting beat up. And so I was looking for something a little more, a bit easier. And the other thing was, after 7 years at the garbage company, I pretty much had my house paid off with all the overtime I was working. I bought 2 foreclosure homes, so they were like 30% off whatever the market value was. And at that time, my wife was working full-time as a realtor. And we got the first house paid off. And that's when I told myself I can't just keep killing myself driving garbage trucks. So I started looking around for something, and at that same time I backed into a telephone pole in a parking lot at 4 o'clock in the morning. Pole fell over and then destroyed the light. And at the time I was the shop steward. I was trying to harass the management to do something about the condition of, you know, labor. Came back from vacation, they told me I'd been let go. And found out later that somebody in management just didn't like me. And so the union stepped in and told me I could have my job or I could take a severance package, which they would have provided. And I figured, well, if they don't want me there, I'll take the package and leave. So I took that severance package and left, and I was sitting at home. Oh, here comes the boss. We're going to talk to him. Okay, where was I? Yeah, I wanted to talk to my boss to make sure that he knew and everybody else knew that my truck was supposed to be down tomorrow so that the mechanics rebuild the air conditioning system. Fingers crossed. So we started out as a clerk, became a tour bus driver, did that for 10 years. Well, it was 8 years full-time and then 2 years part-time. I was garbage truck driving roll-offs during the day, and then I was driving tour buses at night. And that was just like usually less than 4 hours. So I've always been a little bit of a workaholic. That's just part of my nature. My dad was the same way. The people I hang out with are mostly workaholics. So I'm used to a 12-hour days, you know. That's just how you do it. It's one way of, if you have ambition of getting ahead, just work hard, you know? Work more than other people do. But anyway, I'm getting tired of being a garbage man, and I get into that accident with the pole at 4 o'clock in the morning in a parking lot. So I get let go, and now I'm at home, and I'm at home for like 3 days, and my wife is asking me, well, what are you going to do? I says, I'm pretty sure I can go and work anywhere I want, but I'm trying to decide whether I want to stick with garbage or not. And so she said, well, just take a week off and think about it. But after 3 days, I said, oh, I'm just gonna go and just go and put in a few applications. So I went to a competitor in the garbage industry and filled out an application with them. And then because I'd been a tour bus driver, I went to I think it was 3 different tour bus companies. Filled out applications, got a haircut. Then I went over to my friend who I drove tour bus with. He was working for the company I'm working for now. He was their safety guy. He said, why don't you come over there and fill out an application? So I filled out an application with him, and then there's another tour company behind it, Duck Tours. They use these old World War II amphibious landing craft. I thought that was really cool. So it's right in the same building with it was our old warehouse. So I filled out an application with him, and then right next door is the tugboat company. So I go over there and I fill out an application with tugboat. I hadn't made any appointments. I just walked up. Who does your hiring? Can I fill out an application? Went and got something to eat. Drove home. I get home, my wife is at the door to meet me, and she goes, where have you been? I says, out applying for work. Well, what did you tell them? I says, told them I was available and filled out an application. Yeah, but what did you tell them? I says, I didn't tell them anything. I just talked and filled out an application. He says, you need to listen to the answering machine. And on the answering machine was 7 messages from all 7 places I went to asking me if I could start the next day. And so when people tell me, you know, is there work in Hawaii, I always remember that, because, well, if you're a worker, people know a little bit about you, or you know, ask about you. Yeah, there's no trouble finding work in Hawaii. So I took the job as driving freight because the guy who I knew from driving tour buses was going to help me get my tractor trailer license, and I really wanted to work for the Duck Tour, so I told him, okay, I'll work 5 days with freight, and then the weekends with duck tours. So I was working 7 days a week for about 10 years. You know, going to work every day. But I never worked, like when I was in freight, I was in air freight for a while, and that was like a 6 or 7 hour day. And duck tours was usually like, you know, it wasn't an 8 hour day. It was just a 6 hour day maybe. And, but yeah, I worked 7 days a week for like 10 years. So that's how I ended up with the company. I was hired as a air freight, and at the time there was a big strike in California, so the warehouse was completely empty. We delivered everything. And the only thing that was really had any work was air freight, because the air freight was still coming in. And so they hired me as air freight to help out with the air freight, because there was all this extra stuff coming in. And so I drove a van the first 2 weeks maybe. Then the strike broke, and a week later the warehouse was filled beyond capacity. And they asked if I could drive some other trucks also. So I just worked my way through all the other. They'd give me a little bit bigger truck, and I'd drive that, and give me a little bit bigger truck, and I'd drive that. And next thing you know, I was driving every truck in the fleet, and waiting for them to teach me how to drive tractor trailer. After about a year and a half of them telling me they were going to teach me, they never taught me. I just went and got my permit, and basically asked them if I could practice in the yard, and I basically taught myself how to drive tractor trailer. And then I just got a letter from the company saying that they had trained me. I took that down to motor vehicles, and went ahead and scheduled the test. I passed the skills and road test without any problem at all. And because I hadn't had anyone training me, I didn't really learn how to do the proper pre-trip the way they want to hear it. I mean, I'm pretty mechanically minded. I can fix just about anything mechanical, but they want to hear certain things, you know. And so, because I didn't have that lingo, or that what do you want to call it, dialogue? No, it's narration. I didn't have the right narration, so I didn't cover all 100 and however many points that they want you to cover. So I went and studied it, and I still, the second time around, I couldn't pass it. Finally, at the third time, I was mad by that point. I studied super hard, and then I aced the thing, because I learned a few tricks from other drivers. That's how I got my tractor trailer license, and that was, 22 years ago. I've been driving ever since. But because I came up through the ranks, there's very little in the company that I'm not aware of or haven't done, and I'm always willing to do it if they need somebody to do it. I don't really enjoy it anymore. I much prefer just driving tractor trailer, but work is work, I tell people. So we're headed down the viaduct here on the way home. I like the viaduct because it's in the shade. You got the blinding afternoon sun. So this is 2 miles of shaded road. We're headed home. We're going to make some dinner tonight. We got some beans and rice already made. I need to make a salad, but I think we're going to make a pizza tonight. So that's always really easy. The pizzas are basically, what do you call it? You just pop them in the oven to get them from Costco. What we do though is we add a bunch of stuff to it, and then stick it in the oven, cook it a little bit longer, and it makes it a little bit nicer. So that's what's for dinner: pizza, salad, beans and rice. That's it for today though. Thanks for watching. Aloha.